Welcome back to the Nullified Take channel on YouTube, where I've got the TNT takes for you on Survivor 44, Episode 4. That's right, I'm back, joined by my co-host Jake, but we've got a very special guest here on the channel today, someone that I'm excited to talk to, because I haven't spoken to him in a while. I definitely haven't spoken to him about Survivor at this stage, and if you like seeing Drew on the channel, guess what? He's going to be back next week as well. So Drew, we're going to be talking to each other quite a bit, because we're going to be talking challenge in about a week's time as well. But how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm ready to bring in my amateur-ish thoughts about this season of Survivor. I've watched this episode twice, and I'm excited to see what everybody else thought about it.
Well, I'm going to say, listen, we're all just amateurs in the new age of Survivor, because, Jake, half of the time, I don't know what the frick is going on anymore in Survivor 44.
Yeah, actually, I guess I'm not experiencing the same problems. I'm a professional at this point.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, so I can tell you exactly what is going on, Chris, but we'll get into that. We'll save that for later.
I feel like you should, go out on Reddit and explain it to everybody that's coming for Jeff's throat after this last episode, and with all the changes that he's brought into the show, because you may be one of the few people out there that actually understand what the hell Jeff is getting up to.
Yeah, I'm obviously joking. It's getting very convoluted and confusing even for me. Usually I have a very good memory with these types of things, but I forgot about all these advantages and things going on in the game.
So many advantages.
Yeah.
Angelcake, you've watched quite a bit. You've watched Survivor. You say you're an amateur. I know you've been a fan for a long time. You just don't talk about Survivor on your channel all that much. What do you think about the evolution of Survivor and what we're seeing this season? Because it feels like we've skipped a couple of steps forward, even from Survivor 43 to 41. We're playing a very different game this season with the way that everything is working. You now automatically lose your vote when you go on the ship wheel island journey, and things that you think maybe happens, like an idol existing and not existing. I mean, Eliza's stick may very well confuse people in this era of Survivor, because you wouldn't know if it actually has power or not.
Yeah, it's rough. I mean, I'll be honest, I did listen to your 5 takes after watching the episode for a second time today, and a lot of what you were saying made a lot of sense. And I felt ever since season 40, which I thought was a really pretty decent season, and having all the winners on there, it was kind of like a huge, I don't know, it's kind of like a Survivor Endgame type of scenario where you have all the best of the best playing against each other. It was really, really good. And then Survivor just really wanted to do something different. And they were like, we can't do the same thing for another 40 seasons, right? And all the fans were like, yeah, you could do that if you want to. But they're like, no, we can't. We have to do something different. And I feel like for such an established show, it seems like they just keep on trying to do anything and everything to see what sticks. And it's not doing a whole lot, I think, for the fandom, especially for me. Like, I've kind of I don't know, been a very much of a casual fan the last couple of seasons, because it's just kind of like what you were saying in your 5 takes. It feels like a carnival game at a certain point. Like, there's no allowing the players to use their cunning skills or devious skills to even try to make a fake idol. Hey, here's a fake idol and you can do whatever you want with it. And they're kind of just handing it to them. It doesn't feel like there's enough ingenuity for the players to use their own strats and skills that they may have been thinking about for years when applying for the show, and then they get on the show and they're just handed everything that they could use to fool people, which is, I don't know, a little meh.
It's almost like they don't trust the process. They don't trust the cast that they're putting out there to create compelling TV. And Jake, I'm kind of curious. It's hard not to compare the two premiere shows now. And some people will argue that Australian Survivor has overtaken Survivor US and that it's a better product now. I've heard a lot of comments like that out there. You've recently started watching Australian Survivor. You've caught up on the new season of it. Australian Survivor does stick more true to the fact that there is a couple of idols, there's not too many wacky twists in the game, there's no trip going somewhere, but yet it still delivers compelling television. Does it prove that, in this new age, with the new school fans that we have, we can have a traditional season? We can have a season where there's not an overkill of things. I understand you need to continue to innovate. I thought the birdcage this season was a subtle innovation that I really liked. I still like fire tokens. I think that you could do something with fire tokens without the edge in the future to have that social currency. But I feel like Jeff is saying, let's try instead of 1 or 2 new things this season, let's try 10 new things in one season.
I am completely with you. Pretty much agree with everything you said. I mean, Australian Survivor has it really good where, like you said, they actually have quite a few idols. I would say maybe even a bit too much. Like it seems like there was one, like a new one like every episode for a while. But I like that, yeah, they don't go overboard. Like they obviously have to have like a few non-elimination episodes just because of how many
scheduling,
yeah. But just like you said, Jeff doesn't say, okay, it's a new season, let's add a little twist. No, let's throw the whole thing, like all the ideas that we had in our meeting room, let's just throw them all in, all the things from the whiteboard going into the game. And it's not working in my opinion.
It's not hitting the same. Let me go to the live here because there's quite a few people that have jumped in the live. Chris, as always, welcome. Thank you, Chris, by the way, for also keeping the chat in check the other day when we did our challenge content as well. I saw you having to remove a few comments. I'm sure that on Survivor, no one's going to spoil anything for us here in the comment section. Deanna, welcome. Christian Gal, welcome. Georgette, welcome. And Christian saying, I can't believe you're doing 2 live streams. Yep, that is right. I'm going to be doing 2 live streams this coming week. I'm going to be doing the Peridium one, which I'm very excited to have Peridium on the channel to talk about Survivor Season 44, Episode 5. And then I'm going to be joining Russell Muscle TV on his channel, and we're going to be doing a live recap and review of the first 5 or 6 episodes, whatever we've seen at that point. It will be 5 episodes, I guess. And I'm really excited about that. I'll be joined by Survivor scholars and Flynn Masters on there as well. And there's some talks that on this channel, Kahuna is coming off having covered the whole of Australian Survivor with me. He's like, Chris, I want to do a little bit more. And I said to him, guess what? Let's start doing power rankings from episode 6 onwards. So we're going to have myself and Jake continue on with guests here on the channel to talk about each episode. And then you'll have a midweek live as well, or a pre-recorded, depending on how we do it, with power rankings for each player, which I'm actually quite excited about. So we're just going all in, Angelcake, even though Jeff is throwing so many things at this, I'm throwing everything at it as well, and I'm getting all in and covering this season in all angles.
I'm very impressed. Keep it going.
Trying. I'm just trying to keep that energy, trying to keep that energy. I'm hoping that if we can get through this season, there's great characters. There's people that I'm already rooting for in this season. And I'm kind of interested. Do you have people in the season that you're thinking, man, I really like them. I'd like to see where they go in the game? Because for me, I've got a couple of favorites.
I'm kind of just like going with the flow. I feel like there's been a couple of people that they've been pushing heavy for us to keep our eyes on, like Carson, like Danny, and even Jamie to a certain extent. But then I feel like there was times where I was like, okay, I really got to focus in on who's what's names when watching this episode, because they might be brought up and I have to remember what they look like and stuff. And I didn't remember Heidi very much. I remember Kane because he kind of looks like Seth Rogen a little bit.
Kane is so much fun. Did you ever play Dungeons and Dragons, Drew? When he was running around with the sword talking about MMORPGs or RPG games and Dungeons and Dragons?
I never played it, but I watched a lot of Critical Role for quite a while. So I definitely know all that. So yeah, I think there's a good amount of characters, but they just can't show a ton of people. Like Matthew has been a big character, Josh a little bit here and there, but I have a feeling like the last couple of seasons where Carolyn's been a big one. I just think that the last few seasons, the winner has always been kind of like edited on the under the radar kind of vibe. And I feel like they're holding something back from some of the players that are staying underneath the radar while they bring in a lot of these other players that are like really big, bold, and right in front of your face I just don't feel like they're going to go very far, but we'll see.
Yeah, no, I think it's an interesting point you bring up. I think the new age of Survivor, it is a lot harder to play out in the front and to be the one making the moves and to get to the end, because no one is going to be willing to sit next to you. Most of these people are all fans. They know if you've got a resume, if you've got something that is going to look good in front of the final jury, they're going to try and cut you out before you get there. But looking at this episode, Jake, Josh felt like he was the ringleader in the Soka tribe. He felt like he was in a perfect swing vote position. But it looks like a twist in the game is something that actually saves him at the end of this episode.
Yeah, which does not... It does not make any sense to me. The tribe is like, okay, we have one guy that we can all unite around being the target. Oh, let's send him off to potentially get an advantage. Or now, as we see, switch to another tribe. What were they thinking? What was the thinking in that? I have no idea.
Yeah, I was absolutely shocked. I mean, Josh is the person that they did not trust. It's the person that they said, listen, we're going to get rid of them. Danny, I think, made a logical choice and one that my heart was slowing down a little bit, my heart rate, because I was so fearful of both Franny and Matt in this position, potentially both being in danger because they're both on my draft team, Drew. I think I manifested this when I picked them back to back. I was like, oh no, I've got 4 players left in the game and 2 of them are a power couple. But Danny finally reached out with an olive branch and said, listen, I'm going to work with these 2 because they're not going to turn on each other. So hopefully that means there's some solidity in numbers when we get to the merge. But, ultimately I was surprised that Josh was the one that they end up giving this opportunity to go onto the Shipwheel Island or No Name Island position here in this episode. And Drew, this is one of those scenarios, we just spoke about it. It's a bit frustrating. Back in the day, you had to work to get an idol. And in Australian Survivor, they don't even color the parchments that the idol comes in. It's the same as the tree. It's the same color as the tree bark. So it's very hard to spot. So they make it difficult. It's Survivor hard mode, where now in the US, it's normally a colorful thing. It's easy to distinguish. And they just freely give idols to these 3 players. What did you think of the fact that they just got an idol by going on this journey?
Look, I totally understand where they're coming from, wanting to hand these players idols because they're swapping tribes, and then they are the kind of the fall guy if they go to the new tribe and they lose. So I understand why they did it. I'm not a huge fan of it, just because, again, you're taking away that need to try to ingrain yourself early and try to infiltrate and try to make yourself a part of that tribe and cause dissension on somebody else, or trying to learn the social game of their tribe because, oh, I got an idol, that's good until merge. I will say that going into this episode, when it started out, I was thinking, man, it would be really awesome just to get another swap at some point. We haven't had one, granted, for a while because of circumstances, but I was thinking, man, it would be great to have a swap one of these days to come back into the game. And then we get the swap of at least one player going to a different tribe, which I was like, okay, I can understand that. But I just felt like, again, it waters it down to where it's not like Carson, Josh, or Jamie had to figure out a way to get into somebody else, cause dissension. Oh, this person told me that you had an idol, or you told them this, and then it causes a whole rift in everything to where now they're fine. It takes a little bit of that way. They had to do it just in case, no matter what, if they wanted to hold their idol for later down the line. It loses some of that gameplay for me. In a way that I've already talked about, with the ingenuity of everybody getting fake idols as well as getting real idols from the birdcage.
Yeah. And I just think this is where the whole luck element comes into it. You can say, hey, it's social skills because you convinced your tribe to go on this journey. But in the same season, we know people talk, we know they bring information back to camp. Matt was already on this journey and he lost his vote. So he knew Josh would most likely have a very high likelihood of losing his vote, which would put him in a bad spot, and they want to get him out of the game. So they probably try to game the game and try to play within the rules they thought that was set for the season, just for Jeff to switch it up on them and actually give this person a lot of power as they go to the other tribe. And then the other thing for me that sort of stands out is the fact that I think with the 3-tribe format, that's the biggest reason we haven't seen much swaps recently. And that's the biggest reason why we see this one person moving from one tribe to the other tribe. And now they get protection where they go into a tribe like Tika with 4 people and 3 of them, ultimately being in danger. In fact, 2 of them being in danger because there's an actual idol on Tika already. So it meant that only Yam Yam and Carolyn was really in danger. Plus, we get a scenario where we've just had, I hate crying wolf. I always, when the internet brings stuff up like this, I try and be like, listen, you guys are overreacting. But we've had Maddie, Helen, Claire, and Sarah, Jake, back to back go home now. Is this 3-tribe format broken? Does it put the girls at a disadvantage? Because we've seen this now 2 seasons in a row.
It's getting harder to deny, that's for sure. I mean, stats are stats. I mean, like you said, you just listed off. The only guy that has left is Bruce, and he didn't even get voted out. There was no way he was getting voted out anytime soon on that tribe. So I think, yeah, if they want to see some changes, definitely go back to
Two tribes.
the two tribes, because it's always been a bit more lopsided in the pre-merge, but it wasn't this bad, definitely.
Yeah.
So
I find it less interesting because I feel like a player such as Sarah in this position, she showed some promise. She showed that she could be a good player, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But she had no runway due to the way that this tribe was set up with only 4 people there, 2 people being protected via idols. She ended up getting a bit screwed, I felt like, in this position. But we'll talk a bit about that. I do want to go back to the live. Lena, welcome as well here to the stream. Says Survivor AU is still far more enjoyable at this stage. Christian Gal says Jeff Probst is insane in this era. I think Jeff Probst, he's the gargoyle at this point. Tara is saying, agreed, US Survivor is way overproduced. They have a great cast, but we don't see their interactions and relationships because they're showing players react to things they put in the game. Very, very true. They rely on the shock and awe factor of them. So it's kind of like these hamsters being put in a wheel and they just spin the wheel faster and faster to see what happens. It's kind of what I'm getting from this season. Russell is saying, y'all grinding content. Love it. Same to you. Right back at you, Russell. You're doing a good job as well. Chris is saying, can we please bring back the cute little intros? That was the easiest way to remember everyone's names. Yep. I like that. I always like the intros. I feel like they've gone away from it because they wanted to give us more camp life, but now we just still don't feel like Jake has changed.
Let's look. Yeah, really, if we're gonna go in depth and analyze the differences between the seasons that had the intro at the beginning and now, you really think that, the difference is so huge. They're giving us so much more camp life. That's not the case. Like, come on. It was so unpopular when they removed it. They don't even make them, it's been a thing for a while where they don't play them at the beginning, but they would at least make them produce them and then release them online. They don't even do that anymore. So
yeah, I do agree. I mean, Russell Muscle here says that Survivor Mud or Mud Survivor on YouTube does make great fan-made intros, and that is true. So go check out Mud Survivor if you want to see a fan-made intro of that. Tara says it might be a lie. Heidi Danny might have just been saying that to Franny and Matt. That's true. Yeah, Josh might not have been in the outs as much as we think that he is. It's hard to tell with the limited edit that we are seeing. It's like they are rookies at the show. Have they seen the show? Still trying to figure out who, to many everything they are going to do a short season. They need to have 2 tribes. Agreed with it. Lena, do you think these idols replaced the idols that were left for those that had sit out on the daily? I'm not sure I understand that question. Do we think that the fake idols or the idol that Josh played? Josh's idol was going to be expired by the time they hit the merge. So there was at least this one caveat to it. Like they couldn't just use it until the merge. I feel like that idol is gone. I feel like that idol won't come back.
Yeah, I also think that it's been confirmed pretty much from the wording in the idols that they got that the whole earn the merge thing is back, because it said when all the players are living on the same beach, this idol expires. They didn't say when you merge, so there's a reason for that, and I think it's because they're doing the same thing as last season, where like half of them win the buffs and half don't.
Chris is saying it is broken. This is such a disadvantage for women. Last season, everyone denied it and said women were overreacting over the disparity, but it is a fact. And Chris, I'm one of those people. I'm one of those people that always say, let's take a breath, let's calm down and see if it actually is a pattern for more than one season. But now back-to-back seasons, it's hard to deny, right? You can't be like, this is just the coincidence twice in a row. And guess what? I don't like the 3-person, 6-person tribes in any case. So I'd much rather see them go back to 2.
I liked it. I liked it at first, and it's the same thing with the no swap. Like when we saw the format for 41, I was like, this is a nice change of pace. Like, because people were getting tired of the 2 tribes, 20 people, switch into 3 tribes, and then merge at 13 or whatever. People were getting tired of that. Well, turns out we just like a little bit of variety. Like, do one season like this, do one season like this. That's just the way that we like it. We don't want the same thing over and over again.
without changing the whole game, like just make
Right.
these subtle changes, which, you know,
Yeah.
just in case Jeff listens, just put that disclaimer on there.
we have to.
You never know.
We have to say that, or else he'll go too overboard.
Christian Gall saying they already have a cast for season 45 and Survivor season 47 is currently casting. I heard rumors that Survivor season 45 is going to be a themed season and that there are rumored to be an international Survivor player in the mix for that, which to me is very interesting if that is the case.
Nice.
And I'm sort of wondering who that person could be. I personally think people are throwing big Australian Survivor names out there like Luke Toki, David Gennard, George. I think that probably if there is a international Survivor player that's going to play it, it's going to be Nina. It's going to be Sandra's daughter. That's what my thinking would be, because it's just too good of an opportunity not to have Nina go over to the main show that her mother, you know, won in and is a part of the Mount Rushmore legacy of the game. Jeff Probst spoke about potentially in the future doing a Survivor Legacy season, which is about these kids of previous players. You know, if they're on air long enough, he's kind of interested in doing that and having the parents on the show as well as either some sort of a mentor or going up against them, which, you know, Survivor Island of Idols 2, Angelcake, maybe.
Maybe, but I mean, that's a great thought about it, because I mean, yeah, it's been on for forever and they've been hitting that whole like kids love Survivor, this is a family show. I mean, I didn't get to see any of the children's games that they put in last season on this season yet, but we still got quite a ways. I mean, I can't wait for World whatever that little picture puzzle was on every single episode.
I endorse that message. Another person who's got is kind of under radar for international Survivor, but it has become a big, I forgot his name now. He was on Dirty Harry's season, and he's now a wrestler in the WWE in the US. And he hangs out with Mark Long and all the challenge people because he's a big challenge fan and Survivor fan. Probably through the Miz, I would imagine. That's probably how he's connected to them. But yeah, I've got to try and remember his name. I think
it's Matt.
Yeah, Matt. Yeah, I think he could be, because he's been hanging out with Survivor US players, and I'm pretty sure he's got his citizenship or green card or something because he's been there for ages. Moving on to the episode here, we've spoken a little bit about, you know, Josh going over to the Tika tribe. We'll get back into that. But Jamie, she goes on this journey. She now gets what she believes is a second idol in the game, and she's got to go join the Soka tribe, where she is completely on the outside. What did you think, Angelcake, about Danny's move here to go through the bag and look for the idol? I think that people, even in today's age, they look at that, like even on that tribe, I think it was Heidi or Franny saying, I don't know if we should be doing that. And Danny is like, you should leave your morals at home when you're playing the game of Survivor.
I'm not a huge fan of it. I don't ever really like anybody going through anybody's bag. I didn't like it last season. And then I didn't like it this time around. And who would have thought, like, oh, she would keep it in her bag? I mean, if you have even one idol, I mean, I think people who have watched a lot of Survivor knows you just keep it on your person at all times. That way it's like easier to know where it is. Nobody else has it. Nobody else can find it. And yeah, so I'm not a huge fan of that.
Yeah. I don't mind it as much.
Simon.
Yeah. Like full transparency, if I ever go out and play Survivor, I will never look for anybody's bags. Promise. Scout's honor.
Okay, good.
No, probably
Good.
would. I probably would.
I don't
probably
trust
would.
that.
Listen, it's your life in the game. I kind of agree with Danny. I think Danny has been an exciting player to watch. He's very much in that mold of a Tony Vlachos type of character. But I think for him, he's just going to be a big character this season. You've got to wonder, how does he make it to the end? There's not enough. I feel like the game is hard to game for him at this stage. He seems to be a couple of steps ahead, like Matthew is on the Ratu tribe as well. But I am a little bit more fearful that he doesn't have any solid alliances. We see him saying he wants to work with the power couple in the game, and we know Heidi wants to work with him, but we never see the power couple necessarily saying that they want to work with Danny. In fact, when Matt finds the idol, he outs him, which I don't think Matt is going to forget anytime soon, Jake.
I agree. I think that's something that people kind of hold as a grudge, potentially, especially when you could have said that in private and like made it like, hey, we'll keep it between us two. I know that I definitely not forget that and keep it in mind.
Yeah. On the Ratu tribe, Carson ends up on that tribe, and Carson is an interesting character this season, Drew, because he looks like this young, innocent kid, maybe a little bit nerdy, but I feel like people are severely underestimating him at this point as a game player. We've seen that he is willing to play the middle round. We've seen that he's willing to cut people that wanted to work with him early on. I think there's a good game player in him. But again, Matthew is bringing him in under his wing in this episode, trying to build some allegiances here. Do you like this move here by Matthew? And do you think he's playing a little bit maybe close to the fire, playing with Carson in the game?
I think it's a good move in the sense that he wants to have all the numbers on his side. The only backfire I think that could be bad for him is that if he has connections with every single person in the game, if you make it too far into the game and get to a jury section, everybody's going to be looking at you as the friend. So, I mean, if he's over there making deals with everybody, talking with everybody, and they think you are like their best friend and everybody thinks that Matthew is the best person in the world, and then you turn around and vote out every single person, I mean, that's going to hurt more than if you just lied to them and then sent them on their way, or not even like really been that close to them. So I understand the game that he wants to play. It's just sometimes that can burn you when you get too far into the end, but you never know what's going to happen, especially with the previews to next episode.
I'm wondering, Jake, we had Mike Turner on the podcast not that long ago. Is Matthew turning in a little bit to Mike Turner this season, where he's building these very deep connections with them? But I think Mike Turner was genuine in wanting to build these connections, where I feel like Matthew is clearly using these connections to his benefit at this point. But he runs the same risk, where if he's so good at building these bonds and relationships with people, that if he does get to the end, people might hold it against him.
Yeah, I think that's possible, but I think that Matthew would be better at kind of explaining it away in the final tribal council, whereas Mike struggled quite a bit with that when pressed on it. He said that he never broke a promise when, like, dude, he broke a promise like left and right, which is, it should be something that you're proud of, not something that you are ashamed of. So I think Matthew would be like, yeah, I made super strong connections with all of you, and I cut it when I thought the time was right. I think he would be better at that.
You know what? Matthew kind of reminds me of Chris Daughtry from Survival 1 of Vanuatu. Like, he's the closest person, because I've been trying to put my finger on, like, who is he like? And I think Chris Daughtry was that person that could build very deep connections with people, but did it for his own strategic benefit. And then when he got to the end, he swung it back to the jury and grovel and, say, I cut you because you were a better person than me. I was the horrible person for allowing myself to be tempted to make this move, and
so transparent. I have no idea how he got away with it. But
it would be hard to do it now, I think, compared to when he way back, people didn't know the game the same way they know it now. But yeah, Matthew, I think, is an interesting guy. I really like the fact that when they go to the immunity challenge, he sits out, obviously for his shoulder. It's something that we're all fearful of. I'm definitely fearful, because Matthew may be my favorite player this season. In fact, I think he is my favorite player this season. I'm really enjoying him because I can see the love and passion he has for the show, and the fact that he's prepared his whole life to go out there. I can see a lot of myself. Like, if I was ever to get that opportunity, I would probably want to go balls to the wall similar to him, and I would hope that I could play a game as good as he is currently playing out there.
You think you'd jump off a cliff and
I think I might be climbing trees and stuff. So I don't know if I would have climbed that cliff, but I'd definitely be in the trees. Probably. Yeah. I mean, listen, I love the fact that he's out there and he's living his fullest out there. He's living his life to the fullest. But the thing that really impressed me was when he sat out on the immunity challenge. I don't know if a lot of people noticed this. Jamie was the person, Angelcake, that was sitting out from the Soka tribe. And we know that Matthew and Jamie have got a close relationship. Do you think some strategy talk potentially happened there, but we were just not privy to it because of the edit? Because we've now seen Matthew talk with Claire in challenges and stuff like that. So it's not like he hasn't done that before.
That was my first thought. I thought the first thought that when they both sat out, I was like, oh, they're going to say something, to where I thought Jamie was going to be like, hey, I got an idol coming back from the thing, to the where then Matthew could have been like, oh my gosh, Carson probably has an idol, or didn't tell anybody about it. So I thought we were going to have that moment of like, oh my gosh, I would just kind of like told this kid everything about the whole tribe. And now he could be the most dangerous person on our tribe now. And I thought we were going to have that moment, and it just never came. So I was kind of like waiting for it the whole time, and then nothing happened.
Yeah, I mean, it could very well be that Jamie just didn't like. Jamie, to me, again, doesn't come across as the most strategic player. She just comes across as someone that is just enjoying life out there. She's having this great experience, so maybe there wasn't as much good content that came from that, or they could do something, which I know this happened in the previous episode, but this is like, we should criticize the show when they're messing up, but we should praise them when they're doing some stuff right as well. They get it right every now and again. And I really enjoyed that moment where Jamie found the idol and we all got excited with her. The upbeat music was playing and we're like, yay, Jamie's got the idol. And then it goes back to Matthew finding the idol a couple of days before and then, sending her on this goose chase. Maybe there is a rewind scene at some point that goes back to this moment and we see some strategy talk in the future. This is just a big hypothetical, but that would be amazing editing. I don't mind it when they do it like that. Yeah, so let's see what happens there. Let's go back to the live here for a couple of comments. Chris is saying, finally bring back the themes. Yeah, I agree. I think that there's going to be a theme, like I said, for season 45. I like themes because it helps me in my mind memorize and categorize certain players. Like I'll remember, Davey was in David versus Goliath. I can remember that. I remember that season visually where
these all kind of blend in together for sure.
100%.
Seasons. Yeah, I never thought I'd be saying that I miss heroes versus healers versus hustlers, but but here I am.
Well, I was talking about it on the Australian Survivor Live that we did this week because they were saying, what theme are we going to do next? And in Australia. And I said, well, for me personally, I actually think, take out of consideration the people that were on the season, which I still enjoyed. I know people are lower on this season than what I am, but I like the theme blue collar versus white collar versus no collar. And I think that that's a theme that would work really well in Australia. They only do 2 tribes in Australia, so it'll probably be blue collar versus white collar in that sense.
I think it was the no collar that people were like, that's kind of a stretch. It's a stretch for sure to say like, so I think it would have made much more sense to just do blue versus white collar.
Yeah, Alina saying, I hope David and King George will go over. Bring on Dirty Harry. All good names. And before Danny Cab says, and not climb a rock and mess up your shoulder climbing like Ozzy. Yeah, try my best not to be too adventurous if I do go out there. Because I feel like live would let me know. If I come back and I ended up like injuring myself out on the island because I was just being too much energy, I would never live it down. Chris is saying you can live your life to the fullest and not climb up a slippery rock formation. He's goofed. Yeah, I wouldn't have climbed up the rock. I don't get that one. Tara saying Matthew's going too hard. I think it's going to catch up to him. Probably. Yeah, again, it's the players that play like him don't normally win. So my mind's already set on the winner being Heidi this season, most likely. Zuduman is saying, well, these are the new era Survivor US players. We can't really be surprised. Before Daddy Cap says they could do a season of 3 tribes of US, Australia, South Africa. I haven't seen any of South African ones. Before Danny Cab, you should check out some Survivor South Africa. There's some really good seasons. From season 6 onwards, I highly recommend it. Prior to season 6, it was not the greatest. The formats was sometimes a bit wacky, but season 6, 7, and 8 are all very solid seasons to get into. And I think if there was an international crossover season, those were the seasons that will probably be the most represented in a crossover season as well. All right, so we get this immunity challenge. It's a water obstacle course, It's something that I would have loved to have been a part of. It looked like a lot of fun being out there, but it does end up with a puzzle that they have to solve. And Soka, once again, dominates this immunity challenge. They have been the best tribe physically so far. It looks like they made the right decision, sad to say, in getting Claire out because, that formation that they've been using since the beginning have only lost once. Which is pretty impressive. And they end up with the Tika tribe in last place here, sending them back to camp, having to go and decide on who they're going to vote out. Now, back at Tika camp, this is when the things get really juicy, Angelcake, because I feel like we missed out on a lot of context here because when they go back, Carolyn and Yam Yam have a conversation, and Yam Yam says he's going to be the biggest target. They're probably going to come for him, but they need to throw the fake vote or the switch vote on her. And she is visibly very annoyed by that. I had Yam Yam rated pretty high up until this point, but I feel like he really missed a lot of social cues in the way that he addressed Carolyn in this moment. And also the fact that he didn't pick up on that she was really uncomfortable just with her facial expressions. Like, she can't hide how she feels.
Oh yeah, no. You can read Carolyn like a book. I mean, it's kind of wild, but yeah, it is like you brought it up in your top 5 takes from this past week, but yeah, there was something missing. For one thing, I watched the whole exchanging of conversations and everything. I just felt like something was off. Maybe something was taken out of context. And then we only got like, I don't know, I didn't feel like we got a substantial amount of conversations to make me believe that there was going to be this like really big move either for the Tika tribe to stay together or for like it was like 2 conversations and then we were heading off to tribal council. And I was like, that was it. I feel like there was something else that could have been talked about. I thought Sarah's acting was really bad. And I thought her and Jam Jam talking to Josh being like, oh, we don't like Carolyn. And I was like, that's the best you got? Like, you need to sell it, man. Like, come on. It was just weird how they were like talking to him and trying to like piece it together. I do think that we didn't talk about it, but Josh instantly lying about his occupation was so bad. Why would you do that?
So bad.
I was taken back when she was like, oh, you're a surgeon? And he's like, no, I'm not a surgeon. And I was like, why would she hone in on that? And then come to find out it's something he said during a challenge.
If she's specifically asking about surgeon, obviously she already knows or guesses. So just admit it. Like,
exactly. Like, it just seems like everybody's just going to lie about their like occupation here and just want to be a personal trainer or something else. And it's just like, what does being a surgeon have anything to do with making sure you're cunning? Like, I guess it's because you went to medical school. People think you're automatically smart, but I don't know. And
also the money. I think some people feel like, if I'm seen as someone that earns good money, they might not vote. But you could use that. You could use that as a strength. You'd be like, no one's going to vote for me at the end because I make a good amount of money. And then when you get there, you cry and bawl and say, you live in America. You don't get any free education. You've got $300,000 student debt to pay back. So you're not rich, so you can just turn it on them at the end. But
the Dr. Will of strategies from Big Brother season 2, where he's just talking about how he's like a plastic surgeon. He's good looking. He doesn't need this money. He's just here to have fun and cause chaos. And then he ultimately wins.
100%. I think if you can articulate your game well enough at the end, and if you can sit next to the right people who actually did nothing, you could say, look, listen, do you want the season to be represented by these 2 people who didn't play the game when I did X, Y, and Z? Remember, people are going to, 10 years from now, look back at who won this season, and they're probably going to rate the season in accordance. Like, let's make sure we're memorable. Let's make sure we get some returning all-stars coming back to play the game again because we had a good season with a good finish, So you don't want to be seen as a bitter jury. Like, surely there's something you can say. But I agree that, to me, that was very, very bad by him. The fact that he's already outed a little bit of what he does, I think it proves that it's very difficult to lie out there. Everybody thinks it's easy to go out there and lie about what it is that you do. But I think that only truly cunning people can pull it off. And Josh is not that. But I will give credit to Josh in the sense that the right move here was always to try and bring a rift into the Tika tribe, because he knew he's only got an idol that was going to keep him safe once. So why would you not go and vote with the person who already has some sort of a rivalry? There's arguments happening between Yam Yam and Carolyn at tribal council. Jake, you had to go. Like, Josh's only move was, firstly, I was like, you better play that damn model for yourself because there's no guarantees. You don't know these people. You've just arrived at camp. And then secondly, you better not vote with Sarah and Yam Yam because you're out next. So he really did play the only move that was available to him out there.
Yeah, it's interesting because we don't know. Maybe they would have been more receptive towards not voting him out if he didn't lie about being a surgeon, because that was a big reason why they were like, he's just don't trust him. They probably still would have, but at least would have given him a better shot. But I agree. I think you play the idol no matter what at this first tribal. There's just you don't take that chance when you're just coming on to a tribe of 3 new people where you're the only new guy.
Yeah, it was in my mind, there was no choice to be made. It was, you're always going to play the idol. But let's talk a little bit about Sarah, because, my heart was broken for Sarah this episode, because firstly, you see the pure joy when she finds this fake idol that Carolyn had the 2 crosses on the birdcage, and she ends up going and finding it. And Yam Yam's like, "There's no red anywhere. We don't know where that is." And they show Carolyn getting these red leaves or plants somewhere, and you see the joy in her face. She's like, "Yes, I've got an idol. I'm safe in this game," because she knew she was at the bottom. She knew she was in trouble. Right. Obviously, by the end of this, we know that she did a lot of good social and strategic work to be able to get in with Yam Yam, because it looked like Yam Yam wanted to keep her above Carolyn, because you're not going to put votes on someone that you're not willing to save in the game. So that to me was very interesting. But she thinks in her mind, Angelcake, she's sitting there, she thinks she's got an idol, and yet she does not play it after the person who is getting all the votes, the person who got her vote, plays an idol. Like, yes, she spared herself some embarrassment, but rather be embarrassed than sorry, right? By playing, and she had no idea she had a fake idol. I was shocked that she didn't play the idol. She also had the inheritance advantage, so she literally could have played the inheritance advantage, played the idol, and got the idol back as a boomerang the next episode, and she didn't take that advantage.
Well, I think it's the idea that they thought that they had sold Carolyn enough to be the vote to Josh, that was just an insurance that he was playing, and that when the votes read 3-1, that Carolyn would have been the backup default vote, to where she's like, "That's fine, whatever. We'll figure out a way to get Josh out next time." So I feel like that's the gamble that you kind of have to take. At the end of the day, I'm glad she didn't. I'm glad she didn't play the idol, because if it's playing that fake idol would have just been added insult to injury, added salt to the wound of being like, I think I got played. But hey, you got to take some gambles, you got to take some risk, and she had to walk off. But I think it turned out just fine if she had to walk out at this point. And I think leaving this, Carolyn's in such a great position now on Tika, because it sounds like from the previews that Yam Yam and Josh despise each other. And so Carolyn, who was having this riff with Yam Yam, now kind of can play the middle. Like, maybe I do want to get rid of Josh here and maybe go back with, because we've seen relationships go back and forth so much of the time that if they lose again and have to go to tribal council, I can just see her just being like, "Oh, I can go whichever way I want." And these two despise each other, that they're not going to ultimately join up to take me out. It seems that way. So I really like Carolyn's position and the way she decided to split up Sarah and Yam Yam at this past tribal council. So I give my hats off to Carolyn.
Yeah, listen, again, one of the commenters here said, Lena says Carolyn is smarter than they think. And I do agree. Like, apparently, Jake informed me of this last week. I didn't know this, but Carolyn plays a lot of online survival all games. Her mind is in strategy. She gets it. And that was like one of the most, I had the same reaction as you. I was like, what? She plays strategy
Did I play
games?
Against her?
Maybe you did. But yeah,
I
like
may have too. I have no idea.
Yeah, clearly, Carolyn. Chris is saying Carolyn's got the winner edit. Carolyn is like, listen, right move at this time for her, but she is not in a good position right now. Like, who is Carolyn's numbers, right? Yam Yam and her, like, Yam Yam needs her definitely at this stage, but the Tika tribe has vaporized. Like, it's no longer there. So you've got to ask yourself, is the best move for Carolyn now to hop on the Josh train and hope she can be someone that can work with Soka at the merge and hope that Josh has got strong bonds there, because Josh believes he's got strong bonds there? Or is the best move to take out Josh so that the Soka numbers is going to be down going into the merge, and then she's got to hope she links back up with Yam Yam and Carson? Because, Jake, how many rounds are we away from merge at this stage?
That's a good question. Let's see.
We've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people out of the game so far. So we're sitting
one.
Yeah, one round.
One more vote, and then merge, or earn the merge thing. Yeah. Do we think that Carolyn is still like gonna try to work with Carson if he's still around?
I think that Carolyn likes Carson a lot.
I think so too. Yeah.
I think Carson is the glue that kept Yam Yam and Carolyn together, and it wasn't explained very well in the beginning. But I feel like when he was removed, that's when she was like, I can't stand this guy, and they had this fight out there, and Yam Yam suddenly said, well, now Sarah's free game. I'm going to bring Sarah in. But I wanted to talk about one thing before we continue to talk about the merge and the way forward here. Christian Gale also saying merge in 1, and Jay also saying the same thing, the earn your merge. Yeah, because you don't get the merge anymore. You got to earn the merge. You don't have to earn your idols in the game, but you got to earn the merge, Jake. You know, we pick and choose what you need to earn in the
And
game.
yeah, you can earn losing your vote through no fault of your own by just getting
on a boat.
Yeah.
Okay, I wanted to talk about this, right? So I watched a little bit of the Ringer podcast, which Tyson Apostle hosts, and he had Michelle Fitzgerald on there, Angelcake, and they spoke about obviously, we all love Michelle because she's one of the challenge players out there now as well. But they spoke about like how do players navigate the new game now? Because back in the day when you had an idol and you went to someone and you said, I've got an idol, I want to work with you in the game, let's make an alliance. You now don't know if that person really has an idol. You don't know if you can take them by their words. You don't know if they're bringing actual value to the game anymore. And you don't even know if people have their vote in the game anymore. And this is where the carnival games come in. And even previous players like both Tyson and Michelle, these players are big players, both winners at war players, both well respected in the Survivor community. Everybody's talking out about it. Like, what is Jeff missing? Like, does he not listen to anyone? Because I think he's openly said he only picks up the phone for who's the guy who does the comedian show over there in America? Jimmy Fallon. Jimmy Fallon's the only person he listens to, I think.
Oh my gosh, why?
Yeah. He listens to Mike White from David vs. Goliath. Apparently, Mike White convinced him to drop the whole fire tokens thing in 41 and drop Redemption Island in the second Blood vs. Water.
Yeah,
I don't know why his opinion matters so dearly, but apparently it does.
Yeah, so Jay and also Chris saying Tyler Perry as well as Mike White and Jimmy
Tyler
Fallon.
Perry.
Like
Yeah.
those are the people he listened to. Instead of talking to like these legends of the game, the people who made the game what it is, like listen to them a little bit about what it's like to play the game. And anyway, so it's a bit broken, but I guess moving forward on this one here, that we do have Sarah voted out in this spot. And this is going to mean that moving forward now, this Tika tribe, I think, is in a lot of trouble. I do think they could win one, but it has to be the right circumstances for them. Otherwise, we might see a Josh or a Yam Yam go in this next spot. And if Carolyn has to decide, Angelcake, what do you think? Where do you lean towards? Do you think she's going to choose the Yam Yam known path? Or do you think that this annoyance, this thing that's happened between her and Yam Yam willing to sacrifice her as a pawn in the game is going to be too much for her to work with moving forward?
I don't know. That's really, really hard to think about. What I would think is that if she decides to go with Josh, that maybe he could introduce her to the Soka members, and then there's a lot more Soka in the merge or earn the merge than say the Tika members who are just dwindling over and over again. It's like Carson, Carolyn, and then Yam Yam. So I mean, if they decide to go against Josh, then it's like, okay, well, it's us three, and we don't really know anybody else out here. We're gonna have to get along with each other, and they just had this kind of big blow up at the final the tribal council with them doing the whole Bye Felicia thing. So I almost feel like maybe she would side with Josh in hopes that he would bring her in to the Soka numbers and he could be like vouch for her, and then she can get along with Carson, who is on gosh, I can't remember the Orange Tribe's name. Ratu. Yeah. So I think that she's thinking in that way of like she has an into other tribe members and other past members that maybe that they could help her gain a lot more of the numbers. I do think that Carolyn's in a really good spot if she makes it into the merge, that a lot of people might not view her as a giant threat. I mean, her performance in challenges have been, for most of the part, kind of horrific in certain aspects. So I think that they would be like, she's not going to win anything. She's not that big of a threat. We can always take her out later down the line. We can use her as a number. And that just can sometimes become a slippery slope. And you never know what could happen when she uses that idol, who gets taken out during that time. And then all of a sudden it's like, boom, you're sitting next to Carolyn and somehow her charm can maybe win against somebody else that can't articulate their strategy or the moves that they made, or maybe that somebody left some of the jury bitter. So I think it could be a slippery slope, but I could also see Carolyn kind of like getting all the way down to like final 5, final 4 type of territory, and then it gets a little dangerous. It's this like people who never took Carolyn seriously is now like having to think about, should I vote for Carolyn to win? I don't know. I could see it somewhere. I could see it in an instance.
It would be absolute insanity if the person who wins this season is the person who couldn't put one coherent sentence together in the first episode when she did her confessionals. It would be absolutely madness. But she has grown on me. I will say she has grown on me. The first episode, I was like, what are we doing? Who is this person? But now listen, she's unapologetically herself, and you can only applaud that, and she's living her best life out there. She's having a fun time. I'm all in on the Carolyn train at this stage. But I will say this, for me personally, the best outcome in the next round is for Soka to lose, I think, the immunity, which is probably not going to happen because I don't want Kane to go home. I want Kane to sneak in. Obviously, he's in my draft team, but not just that. I think Kane is a fun and, he's a fun character, and I want to see what kind of craziness he gets up to if he does get to the merge. And then if you look at Soka, the most likely people that are in danger there is sadly is probably Heidi. She's probably in the biggest danger because Danny could play an idol for himself if Jamie whips out an idol at the next tribal council, which could mean Heidi could be the person who goes in that spot. So I feel less worried about losing someone from Soka from an entertainment value than what I do from any of the other tribes. Because if you look at Josh, someone brought it up here that Josh is not in with his tribe. The thing is, Josh does not know that. He doesn't know, so him walking ass backwards into the merge, trying to work with his previous tribe, and then having to somehow trust him, maybe to get the numbers in the beginning. That could be entertaining, Jake.
I think it's going to be really, really entertaining. He's going to come back to be like, "What's up, guys? I'm back." And it's going to cut to each of them in their own individual confessional, like, "Oh, great. we have to deal with this guy again. What are we going to do? We probably need him for numbers, but we don't want to, but we also don't want to bring him too far because we think he's sneaky." I think that's going to be really fun.
And then put in the clown music that they normally put in when somebody is unaware.
Yeah, definitely. And then it's going to cut. Yeah, they're going to play that when Josh is like, "I'm in such a good position. My whole tribe is back with me and they all trust me."
Yeah. Christian mentions here, Matt still has a no vote, so that could still carry over to the merge if he doesn't go to tribal council before the merge. Deanna says, Kane is my winner pick in the draft. I'm all in. Yeah, I agree with you. I like Kane, so I'm hoping he does last. But let's go over to our draft picks here and have a bit of a look as to what is going on. Kahuna has been killing it this season. He had no players out of his tribe from the start, but he does lose his first player in the draft. And Sarah, it was his last pick player.
Wow.
But Kahuna, man, he came into this thing and he absolutely faked us out. He was like the Carolyn almost in this thing, coming into it saying, I haven't watched Survivor in the last 2 seasons. I kind of don't know what I'm looking out for. But one of the things that's scary to me, Jake, is that he's got 1, 2, 3, 4 people here. And with Sarah being voted out, she also had an advantage. She had the inheritance advantage. He's had 5 people in a 6-person tribe or team that had some sort of an advantage. So he's been killing it on the points, absolutely killing it. So there's no surprises really here. I'm struggling in yet another draft. I did really well in Australian Survivor. I smashed it on that one. I'm pretty sure I'm going to win that one with Mucky.
Yeah, I checked out your last recap, and I was like, wow, you freaking killed it.
It's really 300 something points ahead. There's no way he's catching up. But in this one, I'm struggling. I'm on 118.5 points right now. You're in second place at 134, Jake. And then Kahuna is starting to creep away a little bit now. He's sitting at 161. And I think one of the big reasons is because he had these extra players coming into this round.
He had two of the people that got sent to the other tribes. They each got idols, and then Josh played his correctly, so that got him a bunch of points too.
Yeah. So successful advantage play. In fact, I didn't even. Thanks for reminding me. I should add that. So he's actually at 171.
Oh my gosh!
No,
I should not have said that. Oh my gosh!
Yeah. So he's killing it. So top players currently on the draft. In place number 1 is Josh at 40 points. He's killing it at the moment with his confessionals, his challenge wins, advantage found, advantage played. Second at the moment is Danny on 37 in his team, third overall. Second for the whole draft is someone that you might not expect. Matt from my team is sitting at 38.
He's a lot of confessionals.
A lot of confessionals for him,
Yeah.
some good challenge wins at this stage, no votes against them. All those things do help quite a bit. Second in my team is Franny at 31. So the power couple, they're getting quite a lot of points on the draft. And then in your team, I guess there's 3 players that are almost equal in points, which is a good thing. Your team's quite spreaded. Jamie, Brandon, both on 31, and Matthew on 30. But I feel like Brandon has been taking a little bit of a backseat in recent times, to be honest with you.
Yeah, he hasn't been really in the spotlight too much.
Yeah. So always fun to have, Drew here on the channel. For those that watch Australian Survivor, I know they might get this reference. Drew is kind of like the George to my Jerry, he's my mentor in this game. And one of the things that he did for us on the challenges, he created the spreadsheet that I've sort of modified and now also using for Survivor. We've got our own categories on there, but this is the points breakdown between the teams. And what we do on the draft is we give points for confessionals, 1 point. Team challenge wins gets 5. Individual immunities will give you 8. Making the merge gives you 5. Successful advantage plays gives you 10 points. Finding an advantage gives you 5 points. Votes against you gives you minus 0.5. Runner-up is 25 points, and a win is 50 points. And then extra points at the end of the season for most confessionals, most individual immunity wins, most advantages found, least votes casted against you, and most advantages played. So it's still a tight race at this stage. Anyone can still do it. I'm a little bit fearful, though. Drew, when you look at these draft picks that we've got on the board right now, who do you think is in danger the most here of going next?
It's really difficult to say. I mean, it doesn't look great for Matthew. Talking about how much pain he is in. I hope that he is able to pull it out and stay here. I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna say Ratu goes, and they're gonna vote in Zane. Maybe.
Kane, you mean?
Yeah, Kane. That's it.
Yeah.
Zane.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about One Direction.
I'm just hoping that doesn't happen for my draft. For my draft, and also just because I really like Kane. I think Kane is like maybe my second or third favorite this season. I really like the nerdiness that he has out there, and just embracing it, breaking the props, Jake, what do you think? Who do you think is in most danger of going next?
Yeah, I think it's Kane too, because I would say Jamie, because if that tribe loses, I mean, they're all so tight, but she has an idol. So, and I would assume she'd play it. But you never know these days with Sarah. Yeah, but you have to. Yeah, and then if I don't know, I think it's kind of up in the air what'll happen on Tika if they lose. Could be, I think Carolyn's fairly safe, but I think the most safe pick is Kane right now. I think he's in trouble.
Yeah. So like Jay says here, Kane's not on Twitter, so that could indicate a pre-merge boot. So not good. Not good for me. I don't want to hear that. Let's have a look at a few more comments here. We've got Zudaman saying, I want to see Ratu go so we can at least know their dynamics. We haven't seen them since the first round. That's fair. Kahuna, welcome to the live. Chris saying, the worst thing about Sarah going is now production is going to have a convoluted way to reintroduce the heritage advantage.
Because they did the same thing with the knowledge is power last season.
Well, Jeff has said on his podcast he loves the knowledge is power advantage, and the knowledge is power advantage will definitely be back this season. So I think it's overpowered. I don't like it. And again, I guess it makes for now you've got to blindside people better, and you can't talk about the idol and things like that. But then there's, I don't know, these gimmicks to how the show's being played out right now. So for instance, Sarah, when she left, said she found out through someone at one of the reward challenges that they were on that there's 2 idols in the birdcage. So when they found the fake idol, or the one idol alone, she knew that there was a chance that it could be a fake idol because it wasn't in the birdcage when she got it or something like that. I might have to go back and listen to it. I might not be making too much sense. But Kunas is saying the only time I lose, someone was taken out by 2 of my other picks. That's true. Jake, what is the statue on top of your cabinet? Every time I see it, I wonder what it is. I'm going with one of the Chinese buried soldiers.
It is I don't know like what it's called, but it's from Peru. My dad lived in Peru when he was a young lad, and his parents got all sorts of little trinkets and brought it back with them, and they gave this to him. I don't know what it's called or what it even is, but it's from Peru.
Nice.
Andre Lee here with a bit of a recommendation, something you might be able to put on the whiteboard. The Angelcake says you should do a Peridium version of anti-hack challenges for the challenge.
Okay. That's a pretty good video style. I am working on the Car Maria Part 3. I've re-gotten all my assets for that. So I have over 160 assets that I have gotten for that video. So I'm going to be working hard on that. And then after that, I'll be back to making weekly extra content for the challenge. So I'll put that one on the list because I'm going to need a lot. There's a lot of weeks in a year. So I'm going to need a lot of recommendations and ideas. So thank you.
Hats off to the first two parts of the Cara Maria video. Very well done. I can't wait to see the next one. You know, I think everybody really appreciates the amount of work and effort that goes into making one of those videos, because I know it's not as simple as just turning on a camera and talking about the latest episode. You know, there's a lot of work that goes into that.
Yes,
Kuna
it
says,
is.
Kuna says the way this season is almost have to deduct points for getting duped by a fake idol. Yeah, almost. Well, you know what the funny thing is, for Australian Survivor, we had a bonus category where you would earn points for not getting a confessional in an episode, because we know Australian Survivor is notorious for only giving 25% off its contestants' material. So we're like, how can we give people who don't get confessionals, who get purpled, a chance to also earn points? And it's very hard when you do a preseason draft pick and you look at people and you're like, this person looks like someone who's going to get zero content. You're like, how do you predict that? You just don't know. Let's have a look here. Before Danny Cap says, thanks, Jake, for explaining. Drew is our official challenge historian, says Lena. Chris, did you vote in Drew's March Madness poll on his community tab today? Your girl, Cara Maria, wants your vote. I'll have to go check it out. I haven't actually been on the community tab yet, so thanks for calling me out in front of everybody. Andrew Lee is saying, is Cara Maria a more happy person? Well, you'll have to check out part 3 to find out. Go Vision saying, yeah, great vids on Cara Maria, Angelcake, love them. All right, I think that is it here for this week. Thank you so much for everybody that's jumped here into the live and who took part in the conversation. If you got to this point, please consider subscribing, hitting a like on the video, letting us know in the comment section below if you're watching this at a later stage. What do you agree with? What don't you disagree with? What should Survivor stop doing? What should they start doing? And what should they keep doing? Put a comment in the video below and let us know. What should they stop doing? What should they keep doing? And what should they start doing? All right, Angelcake.
Homework for tonight, guys.
That's your homework for tonight. Angelcake, what's happening on your channel? What can we expect to see in the next week?
For the next week, I'm going to be working diligently on the Car Maria Part 3. So for now, I think in the next couple of weeks, it's just going to be review and recap, and as well as the Tiny Table Talk for the Challenge World Championships. And then I'm going to be getting Car Maria Part 3 out as soon as possible. But it looks like that video is going to be like way longer than the other 2 videos because I have to introduce Paulie and talk about him for 45 minutes. So that's always going to be a great thing. So yeah, it's going to be a little longer, but I'm going to be working hard on it. So for now, it's going to be a little slow on the channel, just doing review and recaps for the Challenge World Championships. But very, very soon in April, that video is going to drop, and then more weekly content. So
yeah. Before Danny Cap, this is why we do it, because we're the same. We don't. I know I am. I don't have friends on the daily that I can talk to about Survivor. None of them watch the show or the challenge or Amazing Race. So we come here to have a chat with the live. We love having you guys here, and we'd love to see you back next week when we have Peridium on the show as well. But for now, grab your torches, head back to camp, guys. We'll see you guys next week. Bye.